Hello, I've come on today to do something completely different. If you remember, on my birthday book haul, I received um, Silence of the Girls by Pat Parker and Penelope Aeneid by Margaret Atwood. Silence of the Girls about the women of the Trojan War, and the Margaret Atwood one about Penelope waiting for Odysseus. And it got me thinking about books that I'd read when I was younger, because I have always loved anything to do with Latin and Greek, Roman and Greece. Sorry, Roman. Oh, you know what I mean. As a student, when I was at school, I loved Latin, and then as I got to sort of sixth form, I took on Greek as well. And I did go off to university to do Latin, but that is a different story because my university career didn't pan out as it should have done. But you know, that is a whole different story, and that is one that I might tell you one day, I might not, but it's far and far in the past. But this, the Aeneid of Virgil, as you can see, this is a very battered copy, and the date I've scribbled in it, 1974. So this was a book from school days, university days, and it's been well thumbed through. You can see by the spine at the back, it is so well thumbed through. It's one that I read time and time again. Well, I think I did, because when I was thumbing through this, I'm beginning to, I don't know whether I actually read the whole book. I know that the bits I did, I loved. But I was sitting here thinking, well, did I ever read the whole thing from beginning to end? Anyway, the book of the Aeneid, it tells the story of Aeneas, who was one of the Greek warriors in the Trojan War. And it's his story, his wanderings. And it's told in 12 books. There's 12 books in the Aeneid. And the first book deals with Aeneas on the sea. He's rescued his son and his father from Troy, and they're going off because Aeneas has been told that he will found a new land. The gods have told him this. So the first book is them on the voyage, and they land at Carthage, which is where Queen Dido is. And the second book is him telling Dido about the Trojan War and the story of the Trojan horse. The third book, he's talking more about the wanderings. And the fourth book, which is one that I always loved, is the story of the love affair between Dido and Aeneas. That was almost always my favourite book when I read this. Then the fifth book is when he goes to Sicily after he leaves Dido. The sixth book, again, it's one that I really remember from childhood, is when Aeneas visits the underworld, goes down and sort of sees all the departed spirits. That is almost the first half. The book is almost in, the Aeneid is almost in two halves. The second half, when I was flicking through this is when I can't remember whether I actually read the second half or not, or whether I just dealt with the first six books. Because the second, when I was flicking through to see what the other books were about, I had to do that on Wikipedia because I couldn't remember. The seventh book is about the outbreak of the war in Latium, which is where Aeneas rocks up, where he lands. The eighth book is about a visit to Pallanteum, which will eventually become Rome. Book 9 is about Turnus's siege of the Trojan camp. The 10th book is about a battle. The 11th book is about the armistice and the battle with Camilla. And the final book is the duel between Aeneas and Turnus. And I don't remember those. I do not remember that half of the story. So I wonder whether when I was in my teens and studying sort of Roman, this book when I was at school and in the first year of uni, whether we just dealt with the first six books. So my interest has been piqued, and amongst everything else that I'm going to read, I think I need to reread the Aeneid, and I will return to my very battered, well-loved copy. It's a verse translation by Alan Mandelbaum, and it was published in, I mean, this is my very old copy. I think it was published in, can I find this? 1972. So whether this edition even exists now, I don't know, but I've scribbled 1974 in this, so that must be when I picked it up. So at some point, amongst all my reading, I think I need to revisit this, because now I've picked it up again, I wonder whether I actually read the whole thing or whether I just read the first half. Who knows? So I'll come back to you when I have read it. It might be in the summer, I don't know, but I promise you that at some point I will come back to you and tell you about this. So happy reading. If you like the video, like, subscribe, you know, and I will see you later.